Inflation plaguing the nation, another cold winter on the horizon, American consumers facing 25-year highs in home heating costs as oil and natural gas prices are expected to climb nearly 30%. To discuss the agenda ahead for the new Republican majority in the House of Representatives, joining us in studio, member of the House Appropriations and Rules Committees, former U.S. Navy JAG officer and Pennsylvania congressman who just this morning was named the Chief Deputy Whip of the new House Republican majority, Guy Reschenthaler. Congressman, thanks for being here.
Tom, Lydia, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it. And I'm really excited to have been named Chief Deputy Whip. I'm thrilled that Tom Emmer selected me. We've got our work cut out for us with a 222-seat majority. Every vote is going to be a tight vote, so it's going to be really important to whip these votes and make sure that we're playing defense on Biden and the Democrats' far left radical agenda.
So the leadership is starting to come together, but there's still a fight for the speakership. You have some fringe actors within the party who are challenging Kevin McCarthy. There really isn't an alternative, though, that's been presented by these folks. How do you think this plays out?
Well, to the 5 individuals that are still holding out, I would say it's time to put their personal feelings aside and be team players. Because if you play silly games, you win silly prizes. And I can tell you what the silly prize could be. It could be somebody like a Liz Cheney taking the gavel, or a moderate former governor, for example. Remember, you don't have to be in the House to be elected Speaker of the House. You just need a majority of the votes on the House floor to be elected Speaker.
Right.
So it would be very easy for the moderate Republicans to join with the Democrats to hand that gavel to somebody, again, like a Liz Cheney. So to the 5 individuals holding out, I would say Kevin McCarthy is going to be much more conservative than leaders in the past. He's certainly much more conservative than Boehner, much more conservative than Ryan. So why not take Kevin McCarthy, give him the gavel? Additionally, I would say McCarthy's our best strategist. He's our best fundraiser. He raised about $500 million last cycle, and he's our best recruiter. One of the reasons why we've been able to win a lot of these tough races is because we have good candidate recruitment, and that goes back to Kevin McCarthy.
Okay. And Kevin McCarthy has now been talking a lot about the border. He told a disturbing story about how he went down to the border and he saw a woman actually hanging. And we're talking about the drug cartels. We know that the fentanyl is coming in from China, and it's killing an average of 300 Americans every single day. You're on the China task force. What can we do to combat this? Because at this point, I feel like we are under attack. There is a poisoning of America going on, and yet President Biden spoke to Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, for 3 hours and never even brought this up.
Well, Lydia, there's a lot that we can do. First, we've got to secure the southern border. The fact that you've got fentanyl just coming across the poor southern border, literally killing people in the heartland of the United States, that's a problem. Additionally, we need to pressure China. You're right, it's coming from China. And the Chinese, I can tell you, they view this as a way to erode Americans, take a hit at the military age population, for example. And I was in China back in 2019, and I brought this up, unlike President Biden, who did not. And the response I got from a very high individual in the Chinese Communist Party was that it's because Americans are weak, and that because we're weak-willed, we get addicted to things like fentanyl. So they view this as a way to undermine our military preparedness, and it's unexcusable. We should be putting pressure on China and securing that southern border. And just to put numbers on this, you said 300 people a day, roughly 300 people a day die of fentanyl overdose. That would be like a major airliner going down once a day. And that, if it happens twice, that would be news coverage, news stories, total coverage, but because it's viewed as this issue with just the heartland of America, flyover country, we can't get the ruling elite to pay attention.
I just heard a story about a little baby out in San Francisco that was at a park. At a park, and accidentally was exposed to fentanyl. So this is serious. I mean, we're not talking about people that are, oh, well, they're drug addicts, you know, this is what you do. We're talking about one single hit can kill you. People think it's a pain pill, or you could be a baby and accidentally ingest it. So it's just really frightening.
All right. We're going to bring in our panel to continue this discussion with Congressman Reschenthaler, the former Lieutenant Governor of New York and New York Post columnist, and Newsmax contributor Betsy McCaughey, and Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps. Good to have you back. We're all going to play on this, folks. There we go. Oh, there's everybody.
That's cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You know, they had this state dinner at the White House last night, and we've been talking about the fact that even though they're trying to restrict these lobsters in the lobster fishing in Maine, they served 200 lobsters. Something else happened that has become all too familiar, I think, to a lot of folks who watch this. The president reading off of note cards which reporters to call on. Take a look at this.
Okay, who's the next question? Got my list here. Is it my turn to call on someone? Right? Okay, how about NPR, Tom Merkis?
Thank you, Mr. President.
This is a persistent issue now, where he looks incredibly managed and very scripted, and he's still confused, even though that's happening. You know, Chris, how do you think this is viewed? We're just talking with the congressman about looking weak in the face of our enemies. Your thoughts on this?
I mean, of course, it makes us look weak to China and from Russia to see the president who is having obvious mental declines. And it also begs a bigger question of who exactly is running the White House. This White House has a lot of Barack Obama administration holdovers, and the speculation is that they are running the White House basically for former President Obama.
And Betsy McCoy, I mean, one thing I know, President Trump isn't the most popular guy right now. He's very polarizing, but you got to give the guy some credit. He would call on any reporter, regardless of their network. He kind of almost liked the fight, and meanwhile, you got President Biden. He's obviously so scripted. He's so managed, like Tom said. What do you think about this on the world stage? It just makes us look horrible, I think.
The contrast is very troubling. But Lydia, you raised an issue before that I want to go back to because so many viewers watching us really care about this, and that is the fentanyl coming across the border. It's landing in middle schools, junior high schools, all across this country. We are seeing fentanyl deaths in places like Hartford, Connecticut, where a middle school child finds a little bag of this. We always warn our kids or grandkids, don't try drugs, but we never used to have to say the first time you try, you will be killed. Right. That is the new truth. The first time you try, you will be killed. And this is a direct product of the open border. It's murdering our children.
And here's the other thing, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all.
They buy it, you can buy it off the internet. You can buy the drugs off of like TikTok congressmen, right? I mean, how scary is this that you can literally just sign online and somebody comes to your door and kills your child? We hear that story over and over again where a parent goes to the child's room and finds them dead. Yeah. And Congressman, I'll put this to you since you're the new deputy whip. What is the agenda from the GOP to try and do that? Democrats don't seem to have an interest in talking about this issue, but Republicans do. What do you think that the House majority will do and say to the American people, look, we've got this, we're on it?
Well, Tom, what we really need to do is we need to focus on oversight and investigation. If we can expose the hypocrisy coming from the left, if we can show, for example, Mayorkas's failure at the porous southern border, then that'll do a lot to roll back what the Democrats have done over the last 2 years. But we're going to have to use that rule of oversight and investigation to bring sunlight to a lot of these issues within the administration, a lot of the failures. Additionally, we've got to play defense. We're not going to be able to pass any wide sweeping legislation with the Democrats in control of the Senate, with Biden in the White House. But what we can do is we can block a lot of their bad ideas. So expect to see a lot of defense from the Republicans in the next 2 years.
Yeah, in terms
Kevin
of
McCarthy has promised that he will consider impeaching Mayorkas. Right. Now, of course, you can't actually impeach, but you can have orders of impeachment in the House, and then never mind what the Senate is able to do. That would be constructive. And now the word is that there's a lot of division inside the White House itself about how to handle the border, with one faction actually pushing for controls very similar to what Donald Trump put into place. So this may be a time where Republicans can actually exert a lot of influence on changing what's happening at the border.
But Chris, we're talking. They've been talking a lot about investigations, right? Is there a trap there? Because a lot of folks say, I don't want to see another congressional hearing. I don't need to see that. I want to see action. I want to see legislation passed that will at least arguably help solve some of these problems, and let the Democrats then go and vote against it.
Look, I'm hoping that the Republican Congress, House of Representatives next year can chew gum and walk at the same time. I think that they can do these dual investigations, but they can also enact the legislation that the American people need, like having us become more energy independent and closing our border. So I hope that we can do both at the same time. But the Hunter Biden investigation, Mayorkas, I mean, these are our national security, and these are regarding our elections and possible corruptions. So I think these investigations are important, but they cannot be viewed as the focus.
Congressman, you were a Navy SEAL?
No, I was a Navy JAG. I prosecuted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I prosecuted
just a Navy JAG. Just a Navy JAG. What do you? Our extraction out of Afghanistan. Do you feel that just basically sent a message to the entire world? We are weak. We are feckless. Look, we left behind our own people. I mean, I don't think Putin would have acted. I don't even think China would be this brazen if we didn't handle that withdrawal so abysmally. What do you think, Congressman?
Well, if you set up a vacuum, which is what the Biden administration did with the withdrawal of Afghanistan, that vacuum is going to be filled with other players. And right now, China is seizing on the fact that we had a debacle, a disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. So the Chinese are now going to countries around the world, other world leaders, and saying, look, the Americans, they will not be there with you. They're also weak. They're a paper tiger, and we're seeing this mantra over and over again. So I would argue that a lot of the problems we're having on the international stage, from the invasion of Ukraine to aggression in the South China Sea by China, it's directly attributable to Biden being weak and vacillating and giving up Afghanistan. And for all the so-called experts that try to say that we need to pivot to Asia, go and look at a map. The Bagram Air Base was right in Western China. Western China is right where the Chinese are committing some of the worst human rights violations against the Uyghur population, for example. So by giving up the Bagram Air Base, we give up the ability to apply pressure to China in the west of China. We also are now further away from Iran and other problem areas. We should never have given up the Bagram Air Base at a minimum, but we still should have been there supporting the Afghan military, which was doing a very good job up until the withdrawal of beating back the Taliban. It was only until we withdrew that they collapsed, and they were never trained to be self-sufficient. They always were trained that they would have intel from the United States and air power from the United States.
All right, before we need to go, I want to get a poll from everybody, and this is a big question going on in Washington right now. We talked about this earlier, a continuing resolution or a big omnibus package. Democrats want to spend hundreds of billions of dollars going out the door here in December. Betsy, what do you think that Kevin McCarthy should be doing here?
He should be drawing the line and saying Republicans stand for fiscal responsibility and restraint. The only way to fight inflation is to control government spending.
All right, Christopher, to you.
I think Kevin McCarthy needs to convince his caucus and those in the Senate that he will be a strong leader and that he can pass a budget next year. And let's get this continuing resolution omnibus done this year. I think that's what he'll do.
All right, Congressman, I'm going to put you on the spot. There are a lot of concerns that Senate Republicans are going to go for this leftist spend-a-thon that they want to do this month. What do you think should happen?
Well, I would say Mitch McConnell should try to block that, because we've already had so much spending with the COVID relief packages that the Democrats pushed through, and they injected trillions of dollars into the economy, which has led to this inflation, of course. So we should try to stomp any of this additional spending. If you want to increase military spending, that's warranted, that's justified. But just getting back to the continuing resolutions, the big losers with the CR, it's the U.S. military, because it kills contracts, it kills the ability to procure weapon systems, to have advances in technology. You lose literally billions of dollars a day or a week when you have a CR with military spending. So the big loser, unfortunately, will be the U.S. military.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Betsy McCoy, Christopher Arps, and the new Deputy Whip of the House Republican Majority, Guy Reschenthaler. Thank you, Congressman, for being here. Appreciate it. Great conversation today.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting
the truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
for real people.